Hey guys, Bruce coming at you. Promised a few months ago, I've been waiting on this, to make a two-part mold video. Show you guys how to make a two-part mold. I recently had I was molding a part for a toy today, and it's in a mold that I've had for a long time. And the mold finally decided to go, so I have to make a two-part mold to replace it, and we're going to do that today. Okay, let's try this again. I've been having camera issues. Today we're going to do a two-part mold. Like I was saying, a two-part mold is two parts. Like if you can see, I'm so bad with like camera recognition. If you can see, this one is in two parts. It opens up like a book, and your piece is right here, top and bottom. In this case, this is the piece we're going to make. And originally it was in here, and pour your resin. You know, I'm sure you can figure out the gist of that. But today I'm going to show you how to make a mold in two parts and vent it correctly. It's kind of a timely, lengthy process, but it's for things that you can't pour in a normal top mold like I've been making. The resin we're going to use today, I'm trying something new, so we're also going to review this resin. This resin is called Decorum. Decorum, silicone mold making kit. It says that it's toxic free, odor free, and bubble free, which I'll believe that when I see it, especially about the bubbles. I got this online. It was about $23, which is half the price I'm paying for like Umu products, and this is the first time I've used it. So we're going to learn together. I do like the fact it's a 1-to-1 ratio, which tells me that I can weigh it. It also says in the instructions I can weigh it out, so without having to, use measuring cups or whatever and make mess in two different cups. I can pour it all in the same cup, and I like that idea. So that's how we're going to try to do that tonight. So I'm going to get my scale out. Well, first and foremost, I'm going to pick my molding container. It's just a normal Tupperware container. As you can see, it's nothing spectacular. I've used this a couple times. I actually used it to make the last mold. Now that mold lasted me 75 pieces, which isn't too bad until today, when it unfortunately started falling apart, which is kind of why I'm rushing through this, because I need to get this made so I can finish an order I have for a toy store. But anyway, you don't even need to hear about all that. So first and foremost, we're going to get our scale. Let's see. I don't want to try and do this upside down, so you're all going to see it upside down. I'll turn my scale on, of course. And I have a cup sitting right here. Now I've already, let's say you're guessing what you need to make. Now in this case, I've already made this mold, and I'll throw it on here on the scale. Tear out your scale to 0 always. And this is 7.6 ounces. It's upside down where you're seeing it, but you'll be all right. So I'm just going to call it 8 ounces. This is 8 ounces of material for the first half. Since we're using the 1-to-1 ratio, that's going to be 4 ounces and 4 ounces. So we're going to put our cup on, hit the 0 tear. Here's my part A of the stuff I had showed you. I'm going to get 4 ounces of this poured in. Oh, it's kind of thick. It's thick going into that cup. Not as thick as the Uno is. Okay, 3, 4, 3, 6, 3, 7, 3, 8, 3, 9. Ooh, just on the borderline. There it is. 4 ounces exactly. Part A. Let's go to part B. Part B. And, now you had choice. Now this says 4 ounces on my scale. I can reset it to 0, so I get an even 4 ounces in, or I can do the math and bring it up to 8 ounces. I like to reset it to 0 just to be sure. This does not want to reset to 0. I might need new batteries in my scale. Okay, there we go. And then go up to 4 ounces with this. 2.1, 2.5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 3 ounces. 2, 3. Slow down because you don't want to overpour it. 9. Just a little spit. 4 ounces. Oh, we had 4.1. 4.1 because I rushed it. Okay, so now we're going to get our stirrers. I like to use these big, I call them tongue depressors, but the big fat popsicle sticks. This has a drying time of 12 hours, it says on the box too. So I don't have to be in a hurry with it whenever I'm mixing, like whenever I'm mixing resin. I don't have to be in a hurry. I'm trying to do my normal stir, which is just a circular motion to keep the bubbles out. But also said in the advertisement and the instructions of this that it won't come out with bubbles when it's done. So I'm curious. So I'm going to mix it like I would have when I was first starting to do these things. I know you want to get the sides. I want to mix this about 2 minutes. It's white. It's not purple, like if you can see that. It's coming out to be a white. And it's a little thinner than the Umu is. When I've worked with the Umu, this is a lot thinner. Hopefully I did it right. But it's much easier to stir. But on the other thing, what I don't like about it so far is both part A and B were white in color. So there's no color change in this when I'm stirring it. With the Umu, it'll change color altogether. So when you have a nice purple, I think, when it's done, you can see swirls in when you need to stir some more. This doesn't have that. So I'm anxious to see how this is going to come out. We're going to pour the first half tonight and the second half tomorrow. Of course, it'll all be in one video. But what I'm doing here, I'm pouring. I'm going to leave it sit overnight. And tomorrow, we're going to dig it out. Now, you might think I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm actually not. I have my container ready. And because I want you to see how I do this. I have my container ready, and I have my original here. If I could fit it into the picture somewhere. I have my original right here. Man, using two cameras is tough, at least for me. So like I said, I think that's going to be enough. Now, I can see by looking at this, that there are a lot of bubbles in there. And that worries me. That always worries me with the silicone rubber. It worries me with my reusable. And now it's worrying me a little bit with this. So we're going to see. This, like I said, this is going to be the bottom half of our mold. So we'll put the piece in after we pour it. I try to do a high pour. I try to pour it up like this. It helped work the bubbles out. Pick a corner and just let it flow by itself. And I'm telling you right now, there are a lot of air bubbles in this. However, they are coming up quickly. I can see them coming to the surface. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I can see them coming to the surface. Now, air bubbles worry me on this because this one edge especially, the one side of this piece has to be perfect. And this is a smooth edge. And I want to get that smooth, shiny coming from the mold. I did it on this one. And as you can see, here's what's, ew. You always keep a napkin laying around because I just made a mess. Ooh, I did make a mess. Look at that. It's all over my nice new mat that my wife bought me. Here's what I wanted to show you. As you can see, here's what got, where we at? Here's what got ruined right in here. It just started sticking to my piece when I was taking it out. Now, this would probably work for another one, but it wouldn't give a nice smooth finish like what I need, which is the whole reason I'm making a two-part mold today. So, but you can see how nice and smooth this came out with. This is Umu 30 in my hand. And I got, I think I said, what did I say, 72 or 75 pieces I made from this mold before it finally died on me. And like I said, I could probably pick a few more out of there, but it wouldn't be up to my standards. So we got our silicone laying there. And if you can see now, you can still see on the camera, at least I can. Yeah, you can see it on the camera. These air bubbles are really coming up quick. Really coming up quick. I'm wondering if I should leave this sit because I'm going to put my flat side down this way. Now those bubbles coming up will stick to that. And I don't want that to happen. So I'm wondering, I think I'm going to leave this sit for about 5 minutes. I will be right back in 5 minutes and we will continue. I want to let some of these bubbles come up. And then I'm going to show you another way to make sure bubbles don't get on your final product from the molding compound. And I'll be right back. So it's been about 5 minutes. I let it sit. I picked it up and looked at it. And a lot of those bubbles have come up out of it, as you can see here. I never know which way to point, so right there. You can see the bubbles have, for the most part, stopped. Now it's time to put our original piece into mold that we want to mold, which in this case is this toy part. And you can see it's curved, which makes it a little difficult, which is why we're doing a two-part mold. I'm going to put the flat side down The flat, shiny side down. That's the side that people are going to see on the outside of the toy. And I almost made a mistake. I was just going to lay it in there and let it float until it hardens. I don't want to do that. I want to make sure no air bubbles go on this thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go from the corner over here so we don't stir up any more air bubbles to mess up our thing. And we are going to paint a thin layer of this silicone on our piece. And you want to get it all covered nicely with a brush. That way, if any bubbles do come up under it, this will form a barrier and you'll still get your smooth edge. And you can put it on thick, you can put it on thin. I'm using a paintbrush to do this. I guess that's about all you could use. But I'm going to make sure all these little lines and all these flat surfaces have some silicone on them. And that will prevent the air bubbles from actually touching my piece, which will come out in the castings and then it pretty much make this mold worthless. So I got the whole flat surface there that's going to face down. I got it all covered with my silicone. Don't forget, take it from the corner. That way, if you do stir up more air bubbles in what you're working on, it won't affect your casting. So, okay, we did that. Now I'm going to put this face down like I was saying. I'm just going to lay it right there in the middle. Right there in the middle. Rock it back and forth to get any other air out of it. And I don't want to sink it. I want it to float on there. Now, because this is plastic, it will float. If you're doing something heavier, like let's say you're casting something that's in ceramic, it might sink in this, which will ruin your mold also. In that case, well, that's a whole other mold altogether. But for this purpose, this guy's just going to float here overnight. And I'll get half of my mold. Now, you can push it down if it gets buried in there a little bit. That's okay. In fact, it's better to have it buried than I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. It's better to have it buried and have this molding compound come over it a little bit than to go short, because that's where the seam's going to be. This seam is going to be right along here the whole way around. So I think I am going to just let it take up some of that. Sink it just a little bit, but I don't want it to touch the bottom of my container. So that's that. I will come back, and it says it takes 12 hours to cure. I will be back tomorrow morning, which will be more than 12 hours, because I've got tonight's date night with the old lady. So taking my wife out tonight for dinner and whatever she wants to do. Tomorrow morning, I'll be back at this, and we will do the rest of the video and see how it came out. And then when we're finally all done with it, we're going to show you how to pour it. So I will see you tomorrow, but in your case, it's going to be in about 2 seconds. Okay, so here we are the next day. And as you can see, I have the molded compounds nice and hard now. It's pretty pliable. I don't want to mess with it too much, because what I did off camera is I put these venting sticks in there. Little hot glue. If you want to know about venting, I did another video how to vent your molds. But basically, just a quick notes version. Any high spots that I think might hold an air pocket when I pour my resin in there, I want to vent that to the top. And the way I do mine is these wooden dowel rods. I just hot glue them onto the high spots, and they'll actually come up through the mold. The big fat straw right here is where I'm going to actually pour my resin in. So you picture it going in through the straw and out through the rest of the way, and pushing the air out of the other end. That's how I do mine. There's plenty of other ways to do it. Also, something I did off camera that I just want to show you. It's not really coming up very well in the mold we're working on here, but over here where I'm pointing at and this is the old mold, the one that got ruined. But when I made this one, I cut a hole here, any kind of different hole before laying the second layer on. And what that does is when I pour the the top part of the mold, that will do this. And this is the top part of the mold. It leaves these indentations. So whenever I put these back together like a book, they have a reference point of where to stay steady and hold itself in place. So, you're going to want to do that. And as you can see, I can't get this under the camera. The top bit's right into the bottom like that. And like I said, this is an old mold, so you can see it doesn't fit anymore. But when it was new, those slots would fit into the holes just like a key in a lock, and keeps that steady and it won't move for you, and it just improves your piece that you're trying to make better. So, okay, blah, blah, blah. Another thing I did off camera is I've already mixed up another batch of molding compound. Same as before, 4 ounces of each. And I'm going to go ahead and fill this up now. Oh, wait. I almost forgot. And I would be swearing up a storm if I forgot. And it's sitting right here. This is vegetable cooking spray, vegetable oil cooking spray. Now, you can buy mold release products too. They work the same, but I've been using this in my 2-part molds. We want to make sure that this compound doesn't stick to the dry stuff that we just did, because if we put this in here without putting some kind of a mold release agent, it's just going to bind and you have a brick. Now, I'm not even sure if it's going to work on this resin. We'll find out by the end of the video. But I know where this works on Umu 30. I make the same mold. That one there was made with Umu 30. But we're going to just, you don't need a lot of this. You don't want to cake it on. You just want a little dusting. And you want to make sure you get it on the molding compound. It doesn't matter if you get it on your product. It won't hurt anything. But you want to make sure you get enough, right? If you, yeah, you can see that in the camera. You want to make sure you get it on all of the silicone parts that are going to touch the new silicone. And hopefully these won't bind together. Now, if it binds together, I'm going to show you at the end of the video how to fix that too. But it's much easier if it comes out right. Like I said, I'm not an expert on this. I still make mistakes. And we'll find out tomorrow, I guess. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and fill this. I mixed this up the same as I did yesterday. And try and do a high pour. I'm not really concerned about air bubbles in the top part, because any air bubbles that are going to come up are going to come up and they're going to be off my product anyway. But I do want to make sure I get all my vent holes covered. Enough in there for it to cover my entire product I'm trying to make, with a little leeway for my vent holes. And you can pretty well see through this. I probably could have done with making some more compound. I probably could have gone 4.5 ounces of each. But I think this will work. Yeah, if I'd have forgot that vegetable oil, you'd have probably heard me saying some naughty words on YouTube, even worse than what I normally say. And my favorite word starts with F and ends with K. Fire truck. What were you thinking? Shame on you. Naughty. Well, that's it for today. That's all I can do. It did take, when I came home last night was date night with my wife. When I came home last night, this had been sitting about 9 hours. And it was actually ready to work with, but I wasn't going to do it last night, so I waited till today. So it is 3:30 in the afternoon right now, just coming out from under my hangover. I might get this done by midnight tonight. Well, either way, you're going to see it next, coming up in this video. So until this dries, I'll catch you later. Well, I'm not going nowhere. So it's actually been about 6 hours. It's 9:30 right now. And I think I said I did this at 3:15. I think. I don't remember. It was earlier today. Anyway, I come home and I checked, and it's already nice and hard. So I think we should just tear it apart now and see what we got. You know, like I said, this has been called 6.5 hours. I'm pulling my vents out. And that doesn't want to come, but that's okay. So I got my vents out. And you can see it's a little bit oily from the food release stuff that I've used. Let's cut the container. I was kind of trying to avoid doing this, but yeah, see now it's so hard to hold this under the camera and do it, so I'll try to hold it like this. And you can see I'm just taking the probably gonna have to skip through this. There. Well, as you can see, here's the mold. Move these. We don't need these anymore. These are garbage. My hand's pretty greasy right now from the cooking spray. And I gotta itch my nose again. So here's our mold. You can see it's gonna fit together pretty good there. And it had already started to open because our cooking spray actually let us And our cooking spray actually let us peel this. Look at that, it's peeling right off. Can you see that? It's peeling right off. And that's what I wanted to do. And that's good. This is, whoops, this is going to be the top of my piece. It seems to have come out really nice too. I'm very happy with that. Oh, it seems there's 2 little air bubbles in it though. I don't know if you can see this or not. This white doesn't show up on the camera very well, does it? But right here, it's not showing up on the camera. There's a little air bubble. I don't know if that's going to come out on a casting or if it's going to be acceptable. But that's the base of our mold. And of course, here's the piece that we had put in there. Yeah, there's the piece we put in there. That should come right out nicely. Gently take it out. And that's all over oil. Got a lot of oil in there, which we can just wipe that out with a paper towel. But the 2-part mold did work. Let's put it back together. We have the, you can see, I hope you can see. It's really hard to see this way. You can see the little nub I left on there to go into the keyhole. So when we put it together like that, and it won't slide back and forth. So it is fitting nice. And I think it's going to show some promise. We're going to go ahead and pour this. Well, first we're going to wipe it off. I'm going to wipe it off with some paper towels here and try. That oil really won't hurt anything. I don't think it'll mess up with the resin. We're going to find out. As I said, always keep paper towels next to you because you need them for everything. It's going to wipe pat and get this cooking spray off. Now, like I said before, you can use the mold release if you want to. I do have a little spray bottle of it back there. But I find that, in my opinion, of course, I'm not an expert. I know what I know. And there's always somebody who's going to say they know better. But remember, the whole reason I do this is to try to save money, to make my pieces as, cheaply and as efficiently as possible. If you're going to make like 700 of these or something, you might want to go the full route with the, the more expensive. I don't know how that got in there. With the more expensive parts or whatnot. But yeah, this, I think this came out good. I'm anxious to see how it's going to work. Like I said, we're going to go ahead and pour this right now. So if you already know how to pour, you can stop watching the video now, or you want to watch me pour this. I'm going to use white resin today and skip through it, the drying time and everything. That's your 2-part mold. You can make a lot of different things into that. It doesn't have to be a flat piece like this. Basically, use your imagination for something you need to mold. If a 2-parter would work better for you, then go for it. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this with some white resin. I don't need to show you all that. But I will show you here at the end whenever I demold it. Just you get to see the first one that comes out. And that'll be right now. So I decided to go ahead and pour this on camera because there's something I wanted to let you guys know about. Some people use injectors or like a hypodermic needle with a plunger or a turkey baster or something to fill their molds up. I have tried that in the past, and it does work. It injects the molding with the resin and, pushes the air bubbles out a little best as it can. It does work. I don't happen to have any, so what I use the next best thing. My entry hole for this mold is a straw, and I got it about maybe 2 inches above the mold stuck down in there, and that's what we're going to pour the resin into. The reason being is that'll fill up, and the force of gravity will push down and give you a little more pressure to get your resin through the whole mold and out the other side. Because we want it to come in here, and then we want it to flow through and come out these vent holes here. And that's how I know when it's full. And then I go a little bit extra just to work any other extra air bubbles out. So that's why I use straws. I used to use injectors. I don't anymore. So we're going to mix this. I'm using the Fast Cast white resin that I've been using for a while. It's here's the B side. Where are we at? Someday I'll get this upside down camera fixed. But you know, I'm not known for my camera ship. Photography, whatever it is. I ain't no photographer. So that was my A side and my B side. About a half of a shot glass in there. And this is the 10-minute resin, so I don't have to stir it up very long. This has been working out pretty good for me. I prefer the Illuminite, white resin, but it's so hard to get it now because they're always sold out. I don't know if it's a company thing or people are just getting into this craft more. So, and then we go right down the straw, and you see that straw will fill up when it's backed up. Hasn't filled up yet. We got a good flow on this. There, now the straw fills up. I don't know if you can see that on camera or not, but straw's filled up to the top, so I pause, and I can see gravity's pushing that in there. And the resin's actually starting to come out my vent holes over here. And of course this one, because that's down at that end. I like to give it a few taps, little tappy tap on there. That tells me that air bubbles have most likely worked their way out. I don't use my pressure pot with white resin because this stuff cures so quickly that I really don't have any time to do it. So that's that. Give me 10 minutes and we'll demold this puppy and see how it came out. Okay, so it's been maybe, I don't know, 20 minutes. I don't know. I was doing something else, playing with the dogs and stuff. But I'm really anxious to open this because you're seeing it with me. So you're actually going to see my mistakes if I made any, which I'm sure I did. So let's take this off. Yeah, nice and hard on top there. That leaked out of the vent holes. And I use that as a test to tell me when it's going to be hard enough for me to pull my product out of the mold. So I did manage to flip the camera so it doesn't look so weird. But so yeah, this looks like it's going to be good enough to open. So I'm going to pull my vent arm. That's just garbage there. Okay. This is my favorite part, especially with a brand new mold that I just made, because it's either going to be pass or fail. Like I said, 2-part mold. This is the whole principle of it. We're going to slowly peel that apart. Now this particular mold, I want my piece to stick to the top as I'm taking it out. I see I had a little leakage there, which is fine. I'm trying to keep this on camera so you can see too, as I do. Oh, this is hard. There we go. All right, see, I'm trying to push this. This is my top half up here. And, oh, here it comes. Okay, it came apart nice. I'm looking at my top piece, and I am seeing some defects. I'm not ready to pull it off that just quite yet. Oh, as you can see, I always put a piece of cardboard down when I'm working with my resin on top of my mat. My wife just bought me this mat. I love these mats. This is the third one I've had in about 4 years, and I highly recommend them. The silicone doesn't stick to it, but the resin does, unfortunately. And sometimes I got to take a piece of sandpaper when I make a mistake and get that off. But okay, so here's the top of the mold. It was sitting like this. Now we want to try and get that piece out. A lot of flare on this. A lot of flare. But that's okay. It'll come right off. I know I'm going to have to trim this with a Dremel tool later. This might be a little too early to pull. It's kind of, I want to say chewy. It's not brittle yet. Now with this piece, I wanted to keep its curve. So we're going to wait a minute to do that. I will point out the thing I've seen on top of here, and this is what sucks about white on white. It's not showing up on camera, but here and here, there are those 2 air bubbles I told you about, which it's not a huge deal. I can probably fix that next time I cast. I'll just put a little dot of resin in there and fill those up, and then I'll go over it with some really fine sandpaper. So this mold is not going to make them come out perfect every time. I can tell that already. But that's okay. I'm not going to bother making another mold. I think maybe when I was painting it with the molding compound, I might have not got enough on there. And that was my mistake. But everything else seems to have worked. I mean, the piece looks like it's going to come out okay. I'm just taking some of this flash off of it. This is, I'm not going to lie, it's a little disappointing. It's not exactly what I wanted because these are actually for some of my customers. I'm pushing on my vent holes just because this is a touchy piece. I want to make sure I get it out of there as damage free as possible because, like I said, this resin is not fully cured. It's supposed to be a 10-minute resin, but I have noticed with the weather, sometimes it takes longer to dry. And this is one of those cases. It's about 76 degrees outside. I don't think it's very humid though, if I remember correctly. I thought it was a pretty nice day. But I'm being very gentle with this because this is the first time I've made it out of this mold. And I don't want to damage my mold, of course, because I want to use this a bunch of times. Now, I know people were thinking, oh, well, you know, it's just easier. It's better to get Umu 30 or it's better to get Umu 15 or one of the other molding compounds. And they're probably right. But remember, the whole reason I'm doing these videos is to show you what I've learned, how to do this cheapest and most efficiently. Of course, I want my product to be nice. But a lot of people that are watching my videos are just doing this as a hobby, which is great. Because that's how I started out too. Oh, wow. Yeah, remember I told you I'd admit my mistakes? There's a big one right there. And I think it's not showing up on the camera, of course. This looks like crap. The underside, it's all bubbly and rough. It does not look good at all. And I know what I did. And what I did is whenever I put that vegetable oil on there to keep the parts from separating, I got vegetable oil on my plastic, on the original piece. I got it when I sprayed, I got it on it. And it screwed up the underside of the mold. The top side, I'll still be able to use this. The top side is workable, but this is not what I was shooting for. So I am a little disappointed, I'm not going to lie. So don't make the mistake I did. Don't put your molding mold release compound, don't put mold release on your piece when you're making this kind of mold with this silicone. This is going to be hidden anyway whenever the person puts it on their toy, but I might have to start from scratch now because I don't feel comfortable selling this to people. For me, it wouldn't bother me because the top side looks fine, but the bottom side, not at all. And I could see in the mold there where the oil had, you know, like it did it around the edges. Like this is the top piece. This is the second part we poured. I could see around the edges here it has, I don't know what word to use it is. It messed it up a little bit. It's, you can see that it's there's faint bubbles, I guess you could say. But it's not really even bubbles. It's just more like, I can't explain it. But that wouldn't bother me so much. But the mistake I made, and don't make my mistake, I sprayed the piece while it was in there too. And I should not have done that. And I know better. But hey, my mistake, your lesson, make sure you don't do it. This is the old mold that's worn out. Now, since this isn't completely dry, I'm just going to set it in this mold. And you probably won't need to do this. But for my piece here, I need to keep this curve that's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and just put this in that mold. And I'm going to set it aside and let it finish curing so it holds its shape. And that's why I do that. So overall, two-part mold. That's the basics. Mine did not come out perfect. I think I might have to make another one, but it would work in a pinch. I mean, if it was just for me, no problem. But in my case, I might have to make another one because it's what I do. Speaking of which, if you saw, I released a video last week about what I actually do on my eBay page, stuff I make. It's only part one. It's the cardboard play sets that I like to make, the replacement backgrounds for Kenner toys, and it's only when I work with cardboard. The next one I'm going to release is going to be for my figurines I make. A lot of people call them action figures. They are not action figures. Our action figures have moving parts, arms, legs, neck. Mine don't. They're figurines, and that's what that is. So I think that's about all I have to say about the two-part mold. Any questions, please put them down in the comments. I might try this again, make another video. I'm still going to use this. At least I'm going to try to and see what I can come up with. And it's I got a saying, it's either going to work or it's not going to work. I'm going to paint that later. I'm going to fill in those holes. Made myself a lot more extra work because I screwed up with the oil. So learn from that and don't do what I did. Or do what I did for the most part, but make sure you take in consideration the mistake I made. And that's about all I can say about two-part molds. Yeah, that's about it. This molding compound. Now, okay, I wanted to talk about the molding compound too. I showed you the box earlier in the video. It's called Decoram Liquid Silicone. 2 parts, 1-to-1 ratio. You can weigh it out. This is the bottle. I found it online. It was half the price of Umo. Now, I'm not blaming it for that oil because that oil was my mistake. But I will say, just feeling this mold, it feels nice and firm. I know I can use clear resin in it. I haven't used clear, and this is the first time I've used it, so you guys got to witness my first time. It's a same as Umo. It's just cheaper. This is half the price of Umo for just as much. So I am probably going to stick with this for a while. And like anything, I mean, trial and error. If you're getting into this hobby, you're going to do a lot of trial and error. You're going to make mistakes. When I first started, I literally filled garbage cans with my mistakes. And then, you know, you just get better from experience or watching guys like me. I watch other people doing videos on how to do this. And they're really interesting. Some, you know, some they go all out and they get all the most expensive stuff. And I'm not, I'd rather save money. That's how I started. I was tried to do it cheapest, but I still want it to work. You know, I want to put out a high quality product, but you don't have to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So I try to find the cheaper ones and let you guys know about it. Little tips and tricks that I know. I am by far not an expert. I'm not claiming to be. I'm just a guy in a basement that started doing this about 4 years ago. I had a hard time finding somebody to teach me. So I'm trying to make it a little easier and pass on the little bit that I know to y'all. And I hope you appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, all that happy stuff. I don't have a Patreon or anything. I have an Instagram and I have a Facebook, and I hardly use the Instagram. So if you can find me on Facebook, hey, and my eBay page. So that's where I sell my stuff. Jenner Custom Toys on eBay. And you can find me on Facebook. I think same name here, Bruce Jennings. And from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, actually Irwin, Pennsylvania, a little city outside of Pittsburgh. So that's all I have to say about it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. I hope you learned from my mistake. And hopefully the next project will come out better. But like I said, you win some, you lose some. I'm considering this maybe a 20% fail. I got what I wanted. It's going to look nice when I'm done. But because I messed up with that oil, I'm not happy with it. And like I said, I'm just not sure how I can. Oh, I don't have a camera on anymore. I'm just not sure if I can use this. But, you know, live and learn. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.